are now listening to the Rapport Podcast Network.
The Oklahoma Sooners beat the Tulane Green Wave 34-19 in Week 3. We've got a lot to talk about. We're going to give our post-game reactions, all of that and much more here on the Sooner Spotlight. Welcome into another live show of the Sooner Spotlight. Everybody, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, comment down below, jump in the live chat right now. If you're watching live, please, we want to hear from you. How do you guys feel about Week 3 against Tulane? We have been talking about this game all the way up to this game, leading into it. And, a lot of people were really kind of worried about what Oklahoma is going to look like. A lot of Oklahoma fans thinking we might lose this game. And I can understand frustrations. I can understand everything that went around, kind of the worries going into this game. But I want to know, how do you feel after seeing how we performed against Tulane and how you feel going forward? Because I think there's still a little bit of panic in Sooner Nation, which I can understand. We'll definitely get to that this week, and I'm sure we'll touch more on it throughout the week as we get closer to Tennessee. But how do you guys feel so far? Because I think that was a pretty good game. I'm pretty happy with how we performed. It made me feel better looking forward, and I don't want to jump ahead, but it made me feel better looking forward. Of course, we got Tennessee coming up. Made me feel really good until I saw Tennessee up. I think it was like 68-0 at halftime against Kent State. I understand Kent State's not a great team, but you end up beating them 71-0. That had me a little bit worried, not going to lie, but still feeling pretty good about this. So I want to hear from you guys. I loved what I saw from the offense in the first half. Here's something I'll break down for you. I sat here and was a nerd. The first half, I got tired of being a nerd the entire game, so stopped doing it. Didn't see what it ended out to be, what it finished off to be, but I'll get that all put together for you. I know in the first half, right around 6.5 yards per first down play. So, I mean, that's awesome. Per first down play, for every first down, we were averaging 6.5 yards, right around that 6.5 yard mark. That is awesome. I sat down there and wrote down how many yards did we gain on each first down, just so I could figure that out, because we have not been doing good on first downs at all. First and second down were terrible all the way leading up to this game, really. Temple, Houston, not looking good on first and second down. We blame the third downs, and yeah, the third downs is definitely alarming, but overall, I mean, that's not really what was causing those third down, that third down efficiency to be so bad. We were 50% on third downs. So, and really, you look back at the first half, I believe we were 5 for 6 in the first half, if memory serves me correctly, and looking really good in the first half. The thing that I think, just seemed like it didn't really fit together was that second half. Why did we fall off so much in the second half? And we'll get to that. We'll definitely touch on that. But let's start off with the team stats, look at what the team did. Let's start over. We usually start on the offensive side of the ball, but let's start on the defensive side of the ball, because obviously that's the one that we're most excited about, the one that we know we can trust, the one that we know we can lean on. Let's look over at the defensive side of the ball first. Forced 5 for 15, so only a third of their third downs were completed. Stopped them on a fourth down once. The other fourth down, questionable, to say the least. I believe that was right before half. They got that fourth down conversion, scored a touchdown. They went back to review it. I'm going to tell you straight up, I was watching with several other people, and not all of them even really Oklahoma fans, and all of us thought, what, he didn't really get in, did he? They go back and show the replay. Oh, okay, yeah, they're going to overturn this. They go to review it. All right, yeah, we're feeling pretty good. They even show the pylon cam. I thought the forearm was down. I thought the ball wasn't really across until he rolls over. Thought for sure they're going to overturn that. They end up giving that one to him. I don't like that one. I didn't like that one at all. I didn't think it was a touchdown. It might be my biasy glasses, but I feel like there were other people watching with me that didn't have that same biasy. So where I don't know. I didn't think it was a touchdown, but maybe I just didn't get a good view. Maybe they had a different angle that showed it better. Anyways, one for two, so they went 50% on their fourth down conversions. The defense allowed 279 yards, almost 280 yards, 279 yards total. Ultimately, today's college football, you got to be happy with that. And honestly, looking over at the Tulane Green Wave's offense and the guys that they had over there on offense, you got guys like Mario Williams, and I even think Mensa looks really good. He didn't look as good yesterday. I think that was because of the defense. I think it was because of the pressure. He didn't really do well under pressure, and we were able to get back there and get pressure back. But, overall, I thought Mensa was pretty good. I was really, really shocked by him. And then their running back Hughes, he looked really good in certain moments of the game as well, just seeing holes where they weren't opening up and being able to find a hole and, make good decisions, make good reads. Overall, I mean, they obviously, I think I already said Mario Williams, but, they got guys like that are just speedy. They're a good offense. Not going to take that away from them. I think Tulane played a really good game. This defense was what saved us, though. And it offensively, I don't think we looked too bad. You take that first half, and if you're able to learn from what you did correct in the first half, I think you're going to look pretty good. But anyways, going on, 173 of those yards were through the air, only allowed just under 50% pass completion, which was a lot of tipped passes. There were some dropped passes, that some bad passes. There's another one too. Intentional grounding in the end zone. That's a safety. Defense would have scored 2 more points in this game had they called that. I have no idea why they didn't. There was no receiver in the area. He was not out of the pocket. 100% safety. Man, I don't know. There was a lot of holding calls that I thought Tulane was getting away with too. It just seemed like a really sloppy game by the refs. And there was even some calls that I just thought not that the calls were wrong, but just how late they're throwing the flag. There was a lot, and really both sides, not just on Oklahoma. I'm going to bring up what I thought was bad about Oklahoma, for the referees against Oklahoma, but it was both sides. There was the targeting. I hate that. By ruling, if you make contact at all with a quarterback's head, with a player's head, when he is giving himself up and sliding, make any kind of contact. His, I believe, was the forearm, or maybe up there near the bicep, elbow, somewhere in that area. Didn't even really hit Jackson Arnold's head. It was a late hit. He did come in there late. That was a 15-yard penalty. That's an automatic first down. But that's not targeting. Let's take that out of there. I hate that. By rule, that's why they called that targeting. I hated that. So overall, referees, I thought, were just really poor on both sides of the ball. Didn't like it at all. Hated that. So just overall, I did not like that. I don't know. It was a sloppy game, specifically from the referees. And overall, I mean, that's the crazy thing. And that's why I say both sides of the ball, because overall, Tulane had more penalties than us. They had 9 penalties for 60 yards. We had 6 for 45. I just, another one too. I would say I loved the Taylor Tatum. He scores a touchdown, and he has the little swing in the ball, like a baseball swing, and swings it out to the crowd. That was really cool. I loved it. But by rule, is that not excessive celebration in college? I don't like that rule. I don't like that rule at all. I wish they would take that out. Let them celebrate. As long as they're not taunting, let them celebrate. But kind of a little funny that we got away with one there. Again, just inconsistency, I felt like, from the officiating overall. But going on, so 173 passing yards, just under 50%. And we got an interception. We got one interception, and then there was also a fumble. So we had 2 turnovers, 2-1. We won the turnover battle. We'll talk about Jackson Arnold's turnover in just a second. So give me a little bit of time there. Talking about the defense right now. They only allowed just over 5 yards per completion on passing. Got to be pretty happy with that. 106 yards rushing. I wish we could keep them under 100. But like I said, they've got some fast dudes, and they were really smart with their play calls. There was a lot of play calls that I thought they were really smart about the way that they designed them. And it was a lot of scripts that they threw at Oklahoma that, the way that they set everything up and kind of shifting that defense over to one side, and then all of a sudden they run to the other. I thought that Tulane did a really good job, really good coaching by this coaching staff. they kept themselves in this game because of the way that their play calls were ran, and then the entire script. So that was one thing, but still only 3 yards per rush. That's how good our defense was. They just had the ball that much. I thought we controlled the ball very well in the first half. We had over half of the time of possession. I think at one time it showed something like in the first quarter, I think we had almost 10 minutes, and they only had like 5 minutes. So just completely controlling the ball there in the first half. But overall, in the second half, I thought they pieced a lot of that together, and Tulane was able to find little gaps and be able to keep on getting those little chunk plays, get those first downs here and there. Overall, they got 16 first downs. Got to cut that number down. See, going on throughout the defense, anything else I want to bring up on this defense? How about some specific players? Danny Stutzman, as always. We're just going to keep on throwing his name in there because we know that he's going to be good. Billy Bowman was all over the field and played really well. Billy Bowman did play really well, and I don't want to take that away from him, but there were certain times where I thought he was in position to make a play and just didn't make the play. Overall, really, really happy with how he played. There was one where he's swatting at a ball just a little too early and missed the ball, and it ends up being a big reception. So, little things like that. But overall, pretty happy with how he played. We did see Peyton Bowen's not Peyton Bowen, the younger Bowen. We saw Eli Bowen coming to the game. Zach Alley talked a lot about him, how he loves to be able to see a young guy like that step into the game and be able to expect him to play. And it was really cool to see him out there. I think he was only out there for a drive or two, but still really cool to see him. Let's go to longest play. How about that? So the longest play we let up, 22 yards. That's half of what we let up for the longest play last week. Improvement. Still don't want to see a 20-yard play. So there was a 22-yard pass play, and then there was also a 19-yard rush. There was also a 17-yard rush later, earlier on in the game. So overall, yeah, I mean, you let up a few chunk plays on defense, but after going through all of these stats, I like what I see from the defense. How are you guys feeling about the defense moving forward? Because they did allow, I mean, you have to take 7 points off the board. So they allowed, 12 points, right? So they allowed really only one touchdown, which, again, I think was, no, they allowed 2 touchdowns, didn't they? Yeah, because they had that missed PAT. Kind of crazy. And then they also had another one where they went for 2, couldn't make the 2, I believe, right? So, yeah, I mean, letting in 2 touchdowns, I guess. But, again, the one, I don't like that touchdown that got reviewed on 4th down. I didn't like it. I didn't think it was a touchdown. That's my opinion. But going over, that's pretty much all I got. I guess more guys to throw out. R. Mason Thomas, another guy that you've got to mention. He had 3 sacks. He had a forced fumble. And then he also recovered that fumble. He got a pass breakup later on. He had a quarterback hurry. He was getting back into the backfield a lot in the first half, and it just felt like it was constantly so close yet so far away, almost getting there, not quite being able to get through. And I'm going to be honest, I thought they got away with a lot of holding, especially in the interior of that line. But R. Mason Thomas showed up in the second half and really helped out this defense in a big way. I did say Billy Bowman, almost, in the right place, but not quite making the right play. He did get the interception for us, so you've got to give him a shout out for that. But ultimately, going back to R. Mason Thomas, huge game for him, career game for him. Love to see that from him. Let's keep it going, big dog. Let's keep it going. Want to remind everybody, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and also comment down below. We'll jump to the chat here in just a little bit, so guys, get that chat rolling. We will jump into that chat here in just a moment. So get your thoughts out in the chat. And then, as always, want to remind everybody, you can also check out our merch shop. We've got all kinds of merch. We've got hats and T-shirts, all kinds of stuff over there. If you want to support the show just a little bit further, go check out that merch store. We've got a bunch in stock that we're ready to ship out to you. So please go check out the merch store. We've got all kinds of Sooner gear and Sooner Spotlight gear as well. So go check that out. That link is in the description down below. So check that out. And again, just jump in that chat real quick. But going over to the offense, let's jump over to the offense. And please bring up some other guys on defense that you want to give a shout out to as well. Would love to see that. Let's go over to the offense, though. 23 first downs, looking pretty good. Again, first half was where we felt ourselves rolling. First half was where, man, again, over 6, right around that 6.5 yard mark on first downs. That's what you need to see from this Oklahoma offense. Let's just get 6 yards. Honestly, what I was expecting, the reason why I was being a nerd in the first half and tracking that down is because if we can get 4 yards, you're setting yourself up for a really good second down. I think 3 to 5 yards is your expectation. You want to be right in that 4 yard mark. And so, you want to gain that good ground on first down and move forward. And we did really well in the first half. Second half, I'm looking at that offensive line and seeing all of the pressure that they put back on Jackson Arnold. All of a sudden, they just couldn't block to save their lives. That wasn't the same offensive line that we saw in the first half. So what happened? I don't know if maybe they were trying to change something up. I don't know if maybe Tulane changed something up and made it more difficult to block. But overall, I mean, that offensive line in the second half just did not look good. Since we're talking about the offense real quick, I see Boom Squad says, encouraged overall, Tatum and Sawchuk are the 2 best backs. Barnes experiment failed again. I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that. I liked what I saw from Barnes. Personally, I think Javonte Barnes looked really good. I mean, overall, right around that 4 yard average. He had some pretty good chunk plays. I think he had like a 14, 15-yard run at one point in the game. I think was on a first down to help the first down average out a little bit. I do agree. I think Taylor Tatum is definitely the guy, but Sawchuk, if anything, still doesn't look like he's fitting in the run game. It looks like we more have Gavin Sawchuk more in there, more for that pass pro, and it seems like that's all he's really been doing. Maybe kind of use him on a screen or something, but overall, I mean, yeah, Gavin Sawchuk. Yeah, let's look at that up real quick. Gavin Sawchuk, right around 2.7 yards average. 2.7 yards on average. That's compared to Taylor Tatum with a 3 yard average, and Javonte Barnes with a 3.8 yard average. I mean, Javonte Barnes had the best average out of the 3 running backs. So I don't know. I like Taylor Tatum. We used Taylor Tatum in that screen game. That's what I like to see from him. Overall, I thought the running backs did pretty well. Ultimately, I think what helped that run game the most, obviously, was using Jackson Arnold, using his legs. People never wanted to give Jackson Arnold the credit that is due for what he's able to do with his legs. I definitely think that that's something that showed in this game, and he showed off his wheels. I thought that big run, what was that, a 47-yard run that he had, he ended up, getting out in front of the defenders. I thought he still could have got at least a few more yards before they might have been able to just barely catch his ankle and push him out of bounds or something. But overall, I felt like he had the wheels to be able to get past him. That was just my perspective on that run. But ultimately, yeah, he sat there with about 7 yards of carry, so looking pretty good. Kind of going back to Boom Squad really quick just to see what he's got. He says he only had two good runs, 14 long, finished with a 3.8 average. That hurt the team in the second half. Yeah, but second half, you want to sit there and blame anyone for the second half. That's the offensive line. I thought the offensive line was the main reason for anything bad in the second half from the offense. Ultimately looking over at what the offense was able to do in the first half, great protection, great holes opened up, and a lot of big runs, big chunk plays in the first half because the offensive line was working. You look at the second half, I remember Javonte Barnes getting swallowed up in the backfield several times, not because of a missed cut or anything. It's that as soon as the ball gets handed off, he's getting swallowed up. The offensive line is what's to blame there. So I think I understand where you're coming from, but I mean, honestly, I think, what about 6 carries for 16 yards, 2.5 yard average, just over that. I think Javonte Barnes looked just fine, and I think he'll continue to look just fine. Honestly, I think Javonte Barnes and Taylor Tatum have been the proven 2 best backs. If anything, I think you can throw Sam Franklin in there, and we didn't see him at all this game. I think they're trying to maybe save his red shirt, or maybe just keep him healthy just in case something were to happen in that running back room. But ultimately, I think all three running backs looked good, and I think the reason why they looked good, specifically first half, was because that offensive line seemed like they were doing their job first half. I don't know what happened second half, but let's jump back to team stats for the offense real quick. Had a total of 349 yards. That's not living up to the Oklahoma standard. I understand that, but we're playing complementary football and using that defense. And going on, we got 167 yards passing, 19 for 30. So what is that? Right over 60%. So looking good there. 5.5 yards per reception. We've got to get that up a little bit. But when you take a look at a lot of the pass plays, specifically in the first half, I thought that they did a really good job. Seth Luttrell doing a really good job of setting up pass plays that were kind of these screens, bubbles, a quick drag route right across the middle. There was a lot of that where I feel like Jackson Arnold was able to get comfortable, and then you saw him air it out deep, and I thought he had a couple of good balls. I thought Jacques Petaway should have been able to pull in the one that went over his shoulder, or at least make a good attempt, and it didn't feel like he really made an attempt at it. That's a hard ball right over your shoulder. You're looking back, trying to track it over your shoulder. I thought that was a pretty good pass. It was a little hot. It came in a little too hot, so I can understand where that was a little more difficult to pull in, but I felt like he had a pretty good shot of pulling that ball in, personally. But overall, I was very happy with the way that Jackson Arnold played. Not living up to the hype that I think everyone wants to see him playing at. I understand that. But overall, you saw what he did in the first half. Second half, again, I blame almost everything on that offensive line. He did panic. That pick six, let's go ahead and jump over to that play. He did panic many times when he was getting blitzed, but he had no time to think. He has two guys on him. He turns around. He sees, who was that? That was Deion Burks. He sees Deion Burks open in the middle of the field, but in that spur moment, as he sees him open, already throwing it, and then realizes there's a linebacker right there ready to make the play. I mean, you've got to be smarter to know to just tuck that ball in. What down was that? Was that a second down, so we lived to see a third down? That's what I believe it was. So you've got to be smarter. You've got to kind of grow and realize that it's better to just take that sack and live to see another down. Even if you have to punt it away, it's much better than giving a pick six. That was definitely on Jackson Arnold for throwing the ball when he shouldn't have. He saw the open receiver. He didn't see the linebacker over, ready to make the play and jump in front of the open receiver. So, you've got to know, if I'm getting sacked and I'm going down, let's not try to play hero ball. Let's just live to see another down. That's on him. But a lot of that all comes from all of the pressure that he got. I'm saying that for Jackson Arnold passing the ball and also in the run game. I think that the offensive line looked terrible in the second half, even in the run game. I think that's why guys like Javonte Barnes, even Gavin Sawchuk, even Taylor Tatum, I think that's why their overall average went down quite a bit. But going on to the run game overall, just looking at the run game, 182 yards on the ground. Got to be pretty happy with that. Again, being able to use Jackson Arnold in the run game, but I don't want to have to rely on him running the ball, especially when we get into SEC play, which starts next week. I guess this week. We're already to game week. It's Sunday. Why not? But when we get into SEC play, I really don't want to have to use his legs. I don't want to have to rely on his legs in order for that run game to be popping off 180 yards. So it looked good on the run and looked good with using Jackson Arnold, 100%. I love it. Love everything that we saw from him. But ultimately, just got to be able to find our run game through the running backs. And I thought we ran the ball pretty well overall. Let's see, how many running attempts? We had 45 running attempts. So, 45 rush attempts. I like that. I like that a lot compared to 30 pass plays. So I like the fact that we're leaning on that run. I like that. Another thing, too, kind of going towards the end of the game, I don't know how you guys felt, but I really did not like, I hated the let's waste the clock by sending Jackson Arnold back there to run around in the backfield and then just take a knee way back there. That hurt the overall average. So from a fan's perspective, I understand what they were doing. Let's just keep the ball away from them, be smart, and move on. But I didn't like that. That hurts the average so much. But going on, 182 rushing yards, right around that 4-yard average. I personally think that that's totally okay. That's 4-yard average, we'll take that. If you can gain 4 yards every play, you're going to get a first down every time. So we'll take that. Take that for sure. Let's jump to the chat real quick. Let's go over to Mars. We'll see Mars Jam kind of coming back into the chat here. He says, Mario got locked down. Yes, Mario sure did. And he also says the defense played great. Yeah, I mean, Mario, he did get locked down quite a bit. And I also thought that I felt like there was pressure on him or something. You know, like he felt the pressure coming back to Norman. I don't know if he thinks that we didn't like him or that we thought he was betraying us by leaving. I understand why the dude left. I do. And I liked him while he was at Oklahoma. I'm happy that he was able to find a place where it seems like he's fitting in pretty well. But yeah, you're right. He did get locked down quite a bit, and the defense played very good overall. Just gotta keep on, working, keep on using all of that, and ultimately, I mean, we have to lean on the defense. We do. We just got to find ways to play that complementary football. Going back to Boom Squad, he says, I'm not putting all the blame on the offensive line. People blamed the offensive line last year for Marcus Major. No, I'm putting all the blame on the offensive line in the second half. First half, they looked good. Go back and look at the first half and look at what Javonte Barnes' average was, or even any of the running backs' average was in the first half, and then compare that. Really just the overall team average in the first half compared to the second half. That's where this offensive line started really falling apart, and I don't know what changed. I don't know if they got worn out, if they got worn down. I was pretty nervous when I saw Josh Bates down on the ground. I think he was just adjusting his knee brace. I haven't heard anything about that, but I think he was just adjusting that knee brace, and so hopefully that's all that is. We cannot afford to lose another center, but last year's offensive line was a totally different offensive line. We have like 2 guys on this offensive line that we're somewhat familiar with. So this is a totally different offensive line, and this year, yeah, we are, but it's just, I don't know. I'm looking at all of the yardage from the first half to the second half, and I just don't think that it looks good. Going over to, I'm not even sure how to say that, SN Reinke. He says they're improving. Yeah, they are, and the offense, I think, showed a lot of improvement. If we can build on whatever we had in the first half when things were going well, I think we're looking really good. I think we're looking really good. I think I'm very comfortable going forward after seeing what we did. But it's definitely something that when we see the drop off in the second half, we've got to figure out what that was. And I'm sure the coaching staff has much more of an understanding of how to fix it than I do. Just because I don't know the play calls that were being called exactly. I don't know what the expectations were on each play exactly. They do, and so I understand, and I do put a lot of trust into the coaching staff overall. And I see Boom Squad jumping back in here. Hey man, I appreciate you for jumping in the chat, keeping that chat lively. He says, I hear you. We need a running back to get 100 yards desperately. I've been saying that all season long, man. I 100% agree with you. We do. We need that 100-yard back. I think it was last game I said that that we really need a back to have 80-plus yards. Just one single back. I love the fact that we've got 3 or 4 backs that we can lean on. I love that. That's awesome. That's what we need. We need that depth. But I agree with you. We need that one back that's going to stand out from the rest. And I honestly think Javonte Barnes has the capability of doing so from what we know about what he's done in fall camp, from what we saw in the first couple of games. Ultimately, the future is Taylor Tatum, right? The future is Taylor Tatum. I'm not really seeing anything from Gavin Sawchuk, but they're not giving him the ball. He's got like just barely double digits on touching the ball this season. So looking at what he's been able to do, I mean, I just don't think they're really utilizing Gavin Sawchuk. And again, a lot of that coming from the offensive line needs to help out in a lot of those situations, but they're not really giving him the ball and getting him in rhythm. Sooner Yankee for future reference. That's awesome. I need that for future reference, and hopefully I see you in the comments, see you in the live chat here in the future as well. So keep it coming. But looking at what Gavin Sawchuk had, though, I mean, 6 carries this game. Overall, throughout the entire season, only 16 total carries. So, yeah, I mean, I just don't think they're utilizing him properly. And when you do see him in the game, though, a lot of the time he is going into the game and they're using him a lot more for that pass pro, and again, using him out of the backfield, but not really giving him the ball much. So I'm kind of curious if we're keeping him from having the ball. We know what he's capable of, because look at last season when he ended the season with 5 straight games with 100 yards rushing for 5 straight games. That's an incredible stat to have. So I know that Javonte Barnes is capable, or sorry, not Javonte Barnes, but Gavin Sawchuk is capable, and I do want to see him utilized more, and I want to see us give him a little bit of a rhythm. I don't think we've given any of our backs any kind of rhythm to get that 100-yard mark. I feel like we swapped them out a little too much, and I'm not sure what the game plan is around that. Maybe just trying to keep them healthy, but if you're not getting one guy comfortable and one guy in there often enough to be able to find, hey, I'm seeing this and I'm going to attack this next play. I'm seeing this, I'm going to attack this next play. Hey, next play, I know I'm not going there, but the next play that we run it, and just kind of keeping that rhythm, that is something that mentally helps a running back out that I don't think we're really doing with any of our backs. I don't think we're doing any of the top 3 or 4 running backs any justice. Again, leaning back on, or going back to Jackson Arnold, we need to find more ways to use his legs just to keep the defense off, the defense honest. Because I think what you saw was you used Jackson Arnold's legs, and the defense kind of panicked whenever they saw him scrambling out of the pocket. We used that bootleg, and they come up on him. And there was a couple of times where you've got to be able to find get the ball past the defensive line, but defensive line reaches up and smacks it down a couple of times. But they're nervous about him running now. And now that we've shown that, now that we've used that, hopefully other teams see that. Hopefully other teams kind of give that respect to his legs. And as long as we can use that, as long as we can work him into that a little bit more, not use it too much, not use his legs so much where we end up getting him hurt, because I don't want that to be the case. I like Jackson Arnold. I think he is a good quarterback. I think he's improving. I think you saw it in the first half of this game. Second half, again, I don't really blame most of the second half on him. No time at all. If you go back and watch that second half, no time in the backfield for anyone, running backs or Jackson Arnold. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely one that we've got to improve on going forward, and we've got to find a way to make this offensive line feel comfortable with where they're at too. I don't think I saw Eddie Pierre-Louis come in at all, and I was really excited, hoping that he would come in, but didn't see him come in. I know he was listed on the depth chart, but it didn't work. So yeah, I mean, that's definitely something that I want to see. So ultimately, what can we build upon when we see this? What do we want to see better? First off, I mean, honestly, we're talking about the run game. Let's get ourselves a feature back. Let's get ourselves that back that we know that when he's in the game, he's going to do something big. And he's the back that we're going to lean on. He's the back that he's going to have that 80 to 120 yard game, just about any time that we put him in there. I don't want to have to sit here and rotate through running backs as often as we do. So yeah, that's definitely something. And I also think using that kind of 12 personnel, 13 personnel, where we've got several tight ends out there, I would love to see more of that. I think we've seen that a couple of times, not enough. And I would really love to see that a little bit more. Sooner Yankee says, maybe move Sawchuk to slot. Barnes and Tatum have been the best so far. I agree with you there. I mean, I don't know about Sawchuk to slot. I guess I'd have to see him in that position. But you might be right. You might be onto something. I kind of want to go back just to watch his route running ability and pay attention to that a little bit closer, because if he could run routes, I mean, as tough as he is, as good as he is at seeing holes, we know what he's capable of running the ball after he has the ball in his hands, right? So I mean, yeah, I mean, as long as he can run some routes, imagine him and Deion Burks out there in the slot with each other or on opposite sides of each other. The kind of the problems that would occur from having him out there at slot. I do like that idea, Sooner Yankee. Mars says 2 running backs and 2 tight ends set is dangerous. Yes, I want to see more of that. That's kind of what I'm talking about with that 12 personnel, 13 personnel, and kind of getting that double back. We saw that a little bit with Sawchuk and Barnes too yesterday, and I like that. I like that 2-back set. And what you open up with that too, especially if you, like you're mentioning, had that 2 tight ends. Let's say you have two running backs beside the quarterback. You have 2 tight ends up front on each side. Now what you have is You can run left, you can run right. It doesn't matter. I mean, you can run either way. And the defense now is confused by which way do we expect. And what I really like to see is when you line up that way and you're running right, you have the tight end on the right-hand side pull and shift across the line. I want to see more of that. I do agree with you, Mars. I want to see more of that just because that's something that 12, 13 personnel overall, I mean, that's how we're going to help this offensive line and try to take a little bit of the blame off of just the offensive line by putting more big guys in there like our tight ends. And, utilizing the tight ends a little bit more in the pass game because we saw that from Jake Roberts and Bauer Sharp, both of them kind of getting their hands on the ball. And, when they're getting the ball, when they're doing a really good job, I think overall, I mean, that's the most efficient we've ever been is whenever we're utilizing that tight end position. And I was trying to think of a specific scenario that I can think of when we've got that Bauer Sharp over the middle of the field. It's a big target. It's an easy target for Jackson Arnold to see. And there's been several times too where I think he lofts it up over top of a linebacker just perfectly to the tight end, where it's easier to do that with a tall guy that's able to get up over. I like the tight ends a lot. I think we're really deep in the tight end room. I'm kind of rambling on that point, but that's what I want to see going forward for the defense. What do I want to see on the defense? I want to see more press coverage. A lot of these chunk plays, a lot of the plays where they gained, bigger yards, maybe not chunk plays in the sense of 10 or more yards, but a lot of the plays where they did gain the most of their yardage, we're playing a little further back and more preventive, not quite in that prevent defense, but you're playing like 8 yards off the ball and dropping back as soon as the ball is snapped, rather than playing a little bit more press. Now, going on in the season, this may not be the correct move, but against Tulane, our defense is better. They're more athletic. They're faster. I like our defense against their offense. So I would have liked to see us play a little bit more man, a little bit more press man in a lot of that. But I can understand going forward. You've got teams like Tennessee. You got teams, even looking at Auburn. I'm not as worried about Auburn after what we saw from them the past couple of weeks, but they're still going to be a decent team that we've got to worry about this with their wide receivers with enough talent where maybe playing that press coverage isn't the smartest move. But the fact that we let up so much yardage up underneath where we didn't have to let that up. The first drive, we did that a little bit. We were able to force the 3 and out, but we did that a little bit. And I just thought, we could have pushed them back just a little bit more. And you know what? I would have liked to see us do that. But Mars says Barnes is still growing as a running back. This is his year to prove himself to be more. Yeah, 100%. And he was disappointed with last season. The fact that last season he had kind of those injuries that kind of held him back. And he wants this season to be that year that he builds upon. And hopefully next year we can lean on him to be that main back. Who knows? So, I think ultimately, Barnes has a lot of room for improvement, and that's a really good thing to know because I think he looks pretty good right now. And I saw Boom Squad say earlier something about another show saying that which one was that? The Barry Mack show? Yeah, the Barry and Mack show. They said Barnes isn't very good. I played running back, and I agree with them. Yeah, I mean, you can have your opinion. I see what Barnes does, and I mean I've seen the stats that he puts up in the past games, so. I mean, you can have your opinion. I'm not trying to rip down on your opinion. I don't think I blame Barnes for a not stellar performance this game. I mean, overall though, I don't know what you're seeing to make you think that personally. And so I guess I'm just gonna stop talking about Barnes from now on. But for the time being, just because personally I think he's doing just fine. John B says, better figure it out. Tennessee isn't Houston or Tulane. I agree. John, I totally agree. And I'm not going to jump to Tennessee yet. I will jump to Tennessee a little bit because we're going to look forward into that game. But later on throughout the week, we're gonna build upon that Tennessee and kind of break down Tennessee, what we see from Tennessee. But, Yeah, I mean, Tennessee, it's going to be a tough game. Tennessee is way tougher than I think anyone anticipated them being going into this season. I mean, they are. They're a tough team. It's going to be a fun one, though. It's going to be a very fun one. Game day coming to Norman. And then you've also got Josh Heupel returning. I mean, all of the storylines around that. Oklahoma's first SEC matchup against an SEC opponent as an SEC team. There's so much, and a lot rides on that game, really, for both teams. I think a little bit more for Oklahoma because it's going to tell a lot about where you're at and going into the rest of this season with a gauntlet of a schedule. You know, I'd say, man, like top 15 toughest schedules in the nation. That, I mean, honestly, when I look at the other schedules, there's not many that I think are tougher. But I think Tennessee's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a fun one. We're definitely going to dive into that a little bit more throughout the week. Mars says Oklahoma has heard the same thing about Tennessee the last 2 times we played them. One back-to-back. Yeah, you're right. We have. And you know what? The last time, maybe that wasn't the last time, but what was that? 2017 when we had Baker going there, and I think we were down 17-0. Is that right? We were down 17-0, and Baker ends up coming back in Knoxville to beat them. I've also seen Oklahoma play Tennessee in Norman. That might have been right around the same time, too. Right around that 2017, 2018, somewhere in that area, right in that range. So, yeah, I mean, those Tennessee teams were not as good as this Tennessee team. I will say that. So it is a little nerve-wracking. Let's go ahead and jump forward to that just a little bit. Not necessarily previewing the game, but go over to what Tennessee did because, like I said, what was it, like 68-0 at halftime, something like that. Man, they looked good. 64-0 at halftime, right? Something like that. But anyways, they end up winning 71-0. Goodness. I know it's Kent State. I understand that. But you know what stood out to me? And this is where I look at Tennessee and what they have and compare it to what Oklahoma has. And this is what's a little bit nerve-wracking. So look at that game. Look at that game for Tennessee, and then look at their stat line. It baffles me. So I'll compare them to Oregon week 1. Dylan Gabriel had a really good game, and I thought, how did they not score more than what they did? How did they struggle against Idaho after this stat line? Where I look at Tennessee and I'm saying, how did they whoop them with this kind of a stat line from your quarterback specifically, Nico Iamaleava? And I'm sure I'm probably butchering his name. I don't care. I know how to say it. I'm not saying it right, I'm sure. But Nico goes 10 for 16. He had a better game this game than he did last week. But Nico goes 10 for 16, 173 yards, and 1 touchdown through the air. He did have 5 rushes for 31 yards. What the heck? Like, how did they perform that well with Nico not performing? That's what's crazy to me. Just looking at that, and I want to jump back specifically to last week because last week was the one that stood out to me the most against NC State. And I know NC State's not as good as I think everyone was projecting them to be, but Nico goes 16 for 23, 211 yards, 2 touchdowns, but 2 interceptions. Hold up just a minute. 2 interceptions from your quarterback, and you still won 51-10. You go to the turnovers overall. They won the turnover battle. I guess I forgot about that, but 2-3 on the turnover battle. I mean, you turn the ball over twice through the air, and you're still able to beat teams like this, 51-10, 69-3 against Chattanooga. I know they're nobody, but guess what? We played nobody. We played Temple and put up 51-3. We played Houston, who I think Houston is better than what people are giving them credit for. But you know what? Looking at it, we didn't put up this. Tennessee's a very good team. I'm breaking down a little bit more throughout the week, and I want to dive into that a little bit more. But Tennessee's a damn good team. They're coming to Norman. And guess what? Our student section needs to show out just a little bit better than they did yesterday. You know what? No, a lot a bit better than they did yesterday. Ultimately, look at that run game, though. that's where I feel comfortable, is knowing that we've got a very good run defense. Our run defense is looking really good. So looking at that defense and seeing what we've got for that run defense, they had 2 guys over 100 yards rushing, though. They had Deshaun Bishop, 7 carries for 120 yards. That's crazy. And I know Kent State is terrible. They're one of the worst rushing defenses in the nation. So, I mean, yeah, I know that they're terrible. But then Dylan Sampson also having 13 carries for 201 yards. I mean, whew, that's crazy. And I see Sooner Yankee even pulled that up too. Kent State entered the game 133 out of 133 in third down efficiency. Yeah, and then their rushing defense too is another one that's really bad, and they're a bad team. And I think that no matter who you are, being able to win 71-0 is tough. So you know what? That's what I look at, and I see John B even says that. He says Kent State is a bad team. Being said, can OU put 65 on them in a quarter and a half? Good question to ask. Yeah, I mean that's what I mean. Is like I understand they're a bad team, but we've played bad teams too, and we're not. Oklahoma's not performing to the standard that we set for them, or even the expectations that we had for them early in this season. So that's kind of what I'm pointing at. Now, I don't think it's fair to point, and it's going to be hard to predict this game correctly because you have Tennessee who's doing this against nobodies. I understand that, and NC State was bad. All right, they're bad. I would say NC State was just as bad as maybe Houston, but they handled business. They handled business, and even when they turn the ball over, they're still able to handle business. That's what's concerning to me. So, overall, that's what I look at, and it's hard to compare the two. And let me jump to this chat real quick. He says, I've seen teams score 77, 65, 55, but when they run into a great defense, they struggle to get past 21. Yeah, I agree, and that's where I feel good going into this game. And like I said, I'm going to break it down more. I'm trying not to jump ahead of myself, but I'm going to break it down more. Our run defense is what gives me high hopes for this game. That's what I'm leaning on right now. Danny Stutzman has been an animal, being able to find where the gaps are and being able to stop any running back so far this season. But again, we haven't faced running backs like what they've got with Bishop and Sampson. We haven't had to face a quarterback who is as mobile as Nico is. So definitely something to take a look at. Sooner Yankee says the proper question is can Tennessee be that prolific against OU's defense? I don't think they can. I don't think they're putting up 50 points against our defense. They might be able to put up. Here's my early, and this isn't my official prediction of what I'm putting in, but I'm thinking as good as their offense is, I'm thinking they might be able to put up 35 points total. And I don't know if that all comes from the offense. And I really hope that if they're scoring that much, it is from the offense. So that's kind of where I'm sitting. Is I'm feeling like they might be able to squeeze out a way to put up 35 points. I don't think they're going to put up anything near the yards that they did against Kent State. Definitely not. And it's going to be tough earned yardage too. So I mean, overall 740 yards. You're not going to get half that on Oklahoma. I don't think so. So that's where I'm standing right now. And like I said, I'm going to give more of a prediction, I think, more that I dive into this. Boom Squad says, just so you know, Barnes has another 15 carries, 40 yards. I'll be back pounding my fist on the table. Yeah, I mean, if he has another slow one, we do. I mean, honestly, I don't care if it's Barnes. I don't care if it's Sawchuk. I don't care if Sam Franklin comes in, Taylor Tatum. We do, like you said earlier, Boom Squad, we need that back that's going to be a back we can lean on, getting 80 yards a game, 100 yards a game. We need that back, especially when we get into SEC play. So that's absolutely something that we need to see. And then I see Sooner Yankee. Tennessee kicked an onside kick in the first half. I didn't see that. So if that's true, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. And so, I mean, that just sounds like they were trying to run up the score then. Is that right? So, yeah, definitely. And then William, hey, that's our resident Tennessee fan. He says, I have to thank Sooner Nation for sending us hype. You're welcome. Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll just say you're welcome. we love to see Heupel succeed too. That's the thing with Oklahoma and Tennessee. This could be like one of those fun rivalries where we enjoy each other a little bit. I don't even know if that's a rivalry. What would we call that? Camaraderie. Let's take down the SEC together, kind of thing. Just because I feel like I don't know about the vast majority of Oklahoma fans, but at least for myself, I've always enjoyed watching Tennessee. I like their colors. I like Peyton Manning. Overall, I mean, everything that they do there, their traditions. I think their fan base is really good. It's a really strong fan base. I've met a lot of them whenever I went to the game in Norman against Tennessee a few years ago. Man, that's been like a while ago now. But so overall, I mean, I enjoy Tennessee fans. I enjoy Tennessee. They've got our old quarterback there. So yeah, I mean, I think this is kind of one of those fun matchups to look forward to in the future. But Mars says Bama and Georgia was struggling to put up 28 points on BV's defense in the playoffs and regular season. Yeah, and you know what? This BV defense with Zach Alley coming in there, I think this is going to be something. I don't know. I'm really hopeful. I really am. I'm really hopeful because of the defense. Can we get that offense to look like they did first half? I think that's how we end up winning that game. But like I said, we'll go a little bit more. John B says Nico scored 35 on Iowa's stout defense in the bowl game in his first start. Iowa didn't score a point. Yeah, Iowa's offense sucks, and yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that. Their offense sucks so bad that they don't ever. Last year specifically, this year we're seeing a little bit more from them, but they still suck. Iowa's offense. They constantly put their defense in really bad positions, and their defense is able to pull out against, maybe a Michigan offense that's really just kind of bland, and they might be able to stand up and stop a Michigan offense a little bit, or, Nebraska offense, who was bad last year. They look a lot better this year. I'm trying to think of who else Iowa played. I mean, they didn't play any good offenses the entire season, so for us to say they do have a really good defense, they do. But when your defense is put on the field for a majority of the game, and you're sitting there constantly punting the ball away, and maybe turning the ball over in really bad spots, and putting your defense in a really bad spot, we've seen that as Oklahoma fans, having an Oklahoma offense that puts your defense in a bad spot. You're going to wear that defense down. That's what ultimately happened in that bowl game. I mean, you just got worn down, and you got worn down because your offense doesn't help you at all. And you're also getting worn down from a Tennessee offense that's far better than any other offense they played all season last year. Didn't play a single offense that was good. So their defense is good, but I think our defense is going to be better just because of the complementary football. William, he says, we could put 100 on Kent State. Man, I thought you were going to. When I saw it was like 60-something to 0 at halftime, I was like, man, they're going to completely destroy the Kent State, like put up 100 points. I was really expecting to see 100 points on the scoreboard, and I was surprised that they didn't. And William, yeah, I called you out. I knew you were the Vol fan. I remember who you are. You're in here on the chat all the time. I appreciate it so much, man. And I saw earlier too, somewhere in the chat, I think it was Mars that said Oklahoma fans like Tennessee. We do. We like Tennessee, and you know what? Fans like you are what make that a little bit more fun. And so, like I said, maybe we can kind of have that camaraderie or whatever you want to call it. Ultimately, I think that's yeah. I think it's a lot of fun to have that kind of a team to kind of team up with. I suppose, especially our first year into the SEC. But I think this game is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to dive more into the Tennessee game later on this week. Mars Jam says that offense will gel in the middle of the second half. That's when I see Oklahoma grow up almost every year. Yeah. And I think we've been getting better, in little key areas in each game so far this season. We really have. So looking back, so in the Temple game, I think we just purposefully played such a vanilla offense, but got away with that one because Temple was so bad. And against Houston, I think we game planned to have that same vanilla offense. Weren't going to try to really change anything up. And guess what? Willie Fritz, I was talking about him several times before that game. Willie Fritz is a dang good coach, and he just knows how to get his players to play out of their out of their own class, like play above their own tier. He's really good at that, and he did that against Oklahoma. So I think that's what I put on that Houston game for the most part. But going on after that, in this game, you saw the offense gel and find a way to use Jackson Arnold in the run game. You were able to utilize the run game, and what I've been saying this whole time is, why are we not running the ball on first and second down to try to set up a safe, good position for third down to do better? And we did better. We overall, we did really good third down efficiency in that first half. Second half, obviously, some things to work on in that second half. But we've been getting better, and I think we're going to keep on improving. I think we're going to keep on showing that. But guys, this went on a little longer than we anticipated. We usually try to cut this off right around 45 minutes, but we had a bunch of you guys in the chat, so I appreciate all of you. Before you leave, hit that like button, please. Hit that like button. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button as well. We are here at noon on Sundays to give our post-game reactions. That's how we do things here. We didn't get a pregame show. That's kind of on sickness in my family, caused me to have to host all of the tailgate party. And so we didn't get a pregame show because I had to hurry up and get the house ready for all of our tailgate party and watching college football all day. And then even watched some UFC fights last night. Quite a bit of fun. But so apologies for that. We are going to try to set up that pregame show. We're still trying to find a good time slot that works for you guys to get the chat working the way that it does on Sundays. So, feel free to throw out some suggestions. But I want to thank everybody so much. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you're watching after the fact, comment down below. And please go follow me over on Twitter if you want to see more. Kind of keep updated on the show and so much more over on Twitter. I guess formerly known as X, or formerly known as Twitter. It's X now. But at Real Josh Muller, you can find me over there. I try to keep pretty active now that we have this show, so that way I can keep you guys updated on what's going on. Ultimately, go down and support the show with the merch down there in the link in the description. So go check that out. That's the best way to help this show grow. But guys, if you would, just share this show. Share it with one friend. Share it on social media, however you want, however you feel comfortable. If you would, just share so we can get over that hump. I feel like we've been stuck right around that 380 mark. I think we just got over 390. It's a new show, so we need people to see it. We need people to learn about it. This is a show where we want to talk with you guys, Sooner Nation, and Tennessee fans, not at you guys. So, again, much appreciation for everybody who has shown support for the show. Keep it going. We appreciate you all. We'll catch you next time. Boomer.